Hey, good evening. Or grand risings, good afternoon, whatever, whenever you watch this, come across this video. So we're back from Barcelona, and I wasn't gonna really make any videos this week. I've been away for a week, so I've lots to catch up on, loads. I don't even want to think about it. But I've been doing the thing, started unpacking my bag and putting the washing in and walking the dog and doing the things. And as I've been doing these things and contemplating and doing, kind of meditating through the mundane, I got taken back a few days ago when we were in Barcelona. So this is all going to be wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, wow, I'm back. I'm time traveled. I'm just being silly. I'm a bit jet lagged. Anyway, so I was taken back to a phone call that I had with a friend a few days ago, and this piece of information keeps circling around my brain, and so I've kind of been given the nudge by the universe to share this piece of information because I think it's useful. It's a useful piece of information, and it's a really good analogy for what people might experience at some point in their life. So lately, I noticed that quite a lot of people are going through a lot of emotional turmoil, or maybe processing events from their past, a lot of maybe trauma, not even necessarily trauma, just experiences. You don't have to label it with such an extreme thing. But quite a few people that I know, even people that I would consider, myself included, to be quite good at emotionally regulating themselves, to be quite good at to have a lot of strategies in place that support them, whereas before they might not have done. They might have engaged in maybe addictive behaviors, or zoned out and pushed the processing to the side because it was a bit painful, or it was too much, or didn't have capacity, didn't have time, didn't have energy, because processing emotions takes energy, and if you're overworked and you're tired and you're stressed, you don't have the capacity to do this. It's not, you're not capable of processing your emotions. It's just life can just get in the way sometimes, and then you have more experiences, and that's more stuff to process. And so none of this is a judgment, or I'm in a better place, or these other people are in a better place, or this person's in a worse place than this person. It's nothing to do with that. Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, everything is as it should be. Little disclaimer there. But the conversation that I had, I repeated some advice back to this friend who, the advice, I repeated back some advice that I had been given from somebody else, who had given me this advice when I was going through a similar thing that my friend was going through. And it's, I was going through this experience of processing stuff from my past, from my childhood, that I thought I'd dropped, that I thought I'd left, that I thought I'd processed, that I thought I'd healed, that I thought, I didn't think it affected the way that I thought anymore. I didn't think that it was a big part of my life. I didn't think it was a big deal even. It was shit happens. But it was that. It was shit happens. And I can't remember what it was that triggered in me this this thing happened to me. Shit, I never processed this thing properly. Yeah, I processed it, but I didn't process it. I didn't process it. I didn't experience the emotions. I kind of went, yeah, that thing happened. Okay, on we tool. And I've noticed that a lot of people do this. Yeah, well, worse things happen at sea. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, well, never mind, whatever, let's just move on. No, actually, no. process it. Sit and process it, because it will niggle away. It will niggle away. So the piece of advice I gave to my friend was like, because when I was going through this, it was almost like I felt a bit like a failure. Like I felt like I had all these daily practices. I had given up addictive behaviors. I had, I was doing regular things on a daily basis that I felt were really good strategies to keep me emotionally regulated and to help me to like take a breath and be in the moment. And I'm feeling like, anger bubbling up. Okay, take a breath, take a step away, do some yoga, light a candle, just sit for 5 minutes, go outside, take a walk. I had so many strategies that I needed to implement throughout my day to be the best version of myself in that moment, and to not project onto other people, to not present in with behaviors that would then go out and cause trauma to other people. And all of a sudden I became quite overwhelmed. Like, this is a few years ago now. I don't know, about 5-6 years ago, maybe. About 5-6 years ago. Maybe it was a bit longer. I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. But and at the time, I felt like I should know better. I was like, but I know that I'm okay. That I became overwhelmed with fear and anxiety and insecurity and shame almost, and guilt. And then I became like overwhelmed with this, like, but I should know better. I know that I have nothing to feel guilty about. I know that I have nothing to feel ashamed about. I know that, I did my best in that situation. I know that, I didn't do anything to instigate that situation, that this thing happened to me. I was the victim in that situation. That actually, I've tried my best, and yes, I've presented with behaviour since then that have been, that have stemmed from these experiences. But look at where I am now. So why am I still feeling these emotions? If I know that I'm okay, if I know that everything is as it should be, if I know that, humans fuck up, that humans make mistakes, that, that I am not that experience, that experience is in the past, it's gone. Why the fuck am I feeling like this? I should be in a better place than this. Like, why is this affecting me so much in this moment? And some advice that I came across was that to release something fully, to fully process something, to fully let something go, you have to feel it again. Okay? So when that event happened, if you haven't fully processed it and it hasn't been released and gone, and it's not fully dissipated, this experience, this energy that you hold, whatever you want to call it, pain, trauma, suffering, energy, residual, habitual, lingering experience, energy, whatever, there's many words you could call it. Find your own. Just find your own words for it, because not everybody likes certain words, and that can stop their process. So find your own words. I struggle to articulate the vast amount of information that's in my brain to get it, all of this, this tiny little bit, with a very limited amount of human words. So please bear with me and forgive me. I am only human. And I don't intend to cause any, upset or blame or make anybody feel like they're not in the right place, because everybody is in the right space. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You are on your journey. You're doing your best. You're a human being. We have emotions. But so getting back to this analogy was that when you push these experiences right down to your toes, right down deep, so you don't have to keep, so it doesn't keep affecting your life on a daily basis, which that's okay in that moment. If you can't process that thing, to do that, to just get on, to just live, is okay. Like, there's no guilt or shame attached to that at all. That's what people do, what they have to do to survive. Okay, and that's what a lot of people that have these experiences that haven't processed them, I'm talking about many, many different experiences. Trauma is subjective. Okay, so what's traumatic to one person might not be traumatic to another. So it's not about comparing our trauma to somebody else's trauma, ever. Okay, It's not about going, oh yeah, but bloody hell, all this thing's happened to me, or you got to be traumatized about. It's not, no, that's not okay. Okay? Yes, look on the bright side. Yes, try to find the beauty in things, but don't ever dismiss how you feel about a situation. Your feelings are valid and they need to be processed so that you can let them go. Okay? And so when we have to when we can't process things and we have to push them right down, right down, put them in a little box and lock them away, compartmentalize them so that we can live and we can interact with other people without this thing dictating our responses and our emotions. In order to allow that to actually leave our bodies, to actually leave our sphere of existence, to actually leave our mind, our mentality, they're going to bubble up, right? They're going to bubble up. And those bubbles of trauma are going to need to pass through the surface to pop, to disappear into the ether, to dissipate, to right? Of course. But it has to come up and it has to pass through that surface. Now, us as human beings are that surface. And as that bubble comes up through the surface, we are going to be that bubble for a momentary second. I mean, it might not feel like a momentary second when you're experiencing it, but it's a momentary second, okay? You become that bubble of what happened, the feelings, the emotions that maybe you didn't express in the time that it happened, the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings that you didn't express when you wanted to process it, that you couldn't process, that you couldn't express. And it doesn't matter how far along, how evolved in your journey, how awake and how spiritually enlightened you are, how many fucking strategies you have in place, doesn't matter. In order for that to leave, you have to be in that original space of feeling, of emotion. And yes, it will feel like you have stepped right back to point zero. You will feel like overwhelmed. You'll feel all those feelings of anxiety, of fear, of abandonment, of stress, of insecurity, of shame, of guilt. All of those things, you will feel them in that moment. And we don't like to feel that. And what we might do is have a tendency to oh no, I'm better than this, it doesn't exist anymore, it's gone, it's past, I don't need to feel that. And then because we have this idea that, oh, I should be better than this, I shouldn't be feeling this because I'm a spiritually evolved person, I'm awake and and I'm not traumatized anymore, I'm this, I'm that. And you still need to feel it. You need to feel the feelings. You have to feel the feelings. It has to rise up through the surface. You are that surface. The human, if you think about the human lying vertically, is that surface. That bubble is going to pass through you. And if you try to go, no, that bubble is just going to surface elsewhere. Right? Or you can just end up pushing it back down again and repressing it. And if you need to cry, if you need to scream, if you need to shout, if you need to whatever you need to do, if you need to hold up in your room for 3 days and sleep, and because, as I said earlier, processing that shit, if it's really traumatic and it's really painful, and you think about when you were a kid or when you were a teenager and when you've been an adult, you might have said to yourself, oh, wasn't that bad. Worse things have happened to other people. No. You will have to go back to being that person that experienced that, how it felt in that moment. And then the difference is this time is that you can separate yourself from it. You're not in that moment. You can be the person that you needed in that moment. You can put your arms around you. You can talk to yourself and say, it's okay, let it out. I'm here. Yeah, that bad thing happened to you and fucking hell, wow. Let's sit with that for a minute. How are you feeling about that? Shit. That was shit. That was really shit that happened to you. That was awful and I'm really fucking sorry. And you can put your arms around the little girl in you and the little boy in you that fucking experienced that shit, and you can allow it, and you can say, you don't have to feel guilty about feeling upset. You can cry. You don't have to feel ashamed that this bad thing happened to you. You don't have to feel blamed. You don't have to be told, well, if you hadn't have done X, Y, and Z, then that wouldn't have happened, so it's your own fault. No. But unfortunately, you're going to have to feel it, and you are going to be a wreck. So it doesn't matter how far along in your journey you are, you're going to feel fear, and you're going to feel scared, and you're going to feel alone, and you're going to feel anxious and abandoned, and maybe even that guilt and shame again. But from the other side of it, you can go, okay, these actions that I might do, these behaviours that I might have, these responses that I might have stem from that time that I felt really guilty and ashamed, and wow, that guilt was horrible. I don't want to feel that anymore. I want to let that go. Gone. But you still have to feel it, to acknowledge it, to allow it to leave. But don't identify with being that surface. Don't identify with being the surface, the bubble. Don't identify with being the bubble. That's what I meant. You are, I suppose you are the surface. Well, you're the whole thing. You're all of it. You're the everything. But don't identify with being that bubble. Just allow it to pass through, and don't take that as like a sign that you haven't done enough work on yourself, that you should be better than this. But I know all these things, and then, and I know that I'm a whole healed being, and I know that I'm sacred, and I know that I'm sovereign, and I know that I'm beautiful, and I know that I'm, healthy, and I deserve love, and I'm happy. So why the fuck am I feeling this? I shouldn't be feeling this. You're gonna have to. And I hope that helps, because I am very aware that there's a lot of very strong individuals that I know of right now that are going through trauma processing, that are going through acknowledgement of, well, like I said, whatever you want to call it. There are many words. If you don't identify with the word trauma, then don't. That's fine. Experience, processing. Experience acknowledging. Just acknowledging that you've had an experience, and what emotions or feelings that brought up in you. And being grateful for the fact that you can feel these emotions. Like even grief, sorrow, pain, joy. It's all part of the human experience. That's what a joyful thing to have. Like, to be able to sit with your emotions and look at them and not push them away, and not and that's not a judgment on people, that if you are in that space. I still do that sometimes. It's like, right, I don't have, sometimes I have things that come up in, in my space, in my surface, in my surface. I have bubbles that arise in my surface. And it's like, oh shit, this is a big bubble. I'm gonna have to take some time for this one. Like, I might just let that one hover above the surface for a bit, and I'll assess it. I'll assess it before I let it surface. And that's okay. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I don't have the energy to process this properly, efficiently. And that is like a really cool space to be in. I'm not gonna lie. From where I've been, from where I've come from. To be able to assess my bubbles of experience and say, oh, okay, don't quite have capacity to process that bubble right now. So I'm just gonna let it be there. I'm gonna give it some love, and I acknowledge that bubble is there. And I'll come back to you later when I have time, when I have the capacity to give you a hug. Inner you. When I have the capacity to sit and process and cry. And, sometimes it happens and I have no power over it, and the bubble just fucking comes right up. And, I might be in the middle of playing a song. I might be in the middle of learning a song. Or I might be in the middle of, having a conversation with one of my kids. Or, having a very frustrating conversation with Babylon service machine, the machine, trying to navigate the machine. And, you know, I might have a conversation with somebody on the other end of the phone that I don't even know. And it might bring something up and I might burst into tears. And they might go, oh, totally resonate with that. I've had conversations like with total strangers on the other end of the phone where I'm like, you have to forgive me, like this has just brought up some stuff and I'm like, I'm having a really bad day and it's really stressful and I didn't expect for this to happen. And they're like, oh, it's okay, I totally get it. Like this happened to me the other day. And just having, you know, compassion and forgiveness for yourself when you don't handle it properly. Maybe when you don't have capacity, maybe when, you know, you didn't expect that bubble to come up and you were like totally taken by surprise. You know, it's going to happen, but it's a good thing. You're getting rid of those bubbles, you know. And I just felt like that needed to be said today for some reason. I don't know. Just be gentle with yourself, be kind, be, you know, and it's not about looking at where you are in relation to other people. It's about looking at where you are in relation to where you were. And yeah, I might not respond to things as great as somebody else one day. But I look back at how I would have, Kiyotaro would have, you know, the younger me would have responded in that situation. I'm like, well done. I give myself a pat on the back today because there was a point in time when I would have blown my shit. Or I would have, you know, decided to completely ignore it and scrolled on social media all night, all evening. Or I would have gone and bought myself a bottle of wine and just drank a bottle of wine and, you know, I waited for the kids to go to bed and like grinning like nuts all day. And yeah, that's fine, that's okay. And completely disregarded how I felt in those moments and completely dismissed it and pushed it down because I did not have the tools to process what I was experiencing. And so I would have been like, yeah, okay, hi. And I would have used other means to process. Well, I wouldn't have been processing it. I would have been covering it up. I would have been, and that's okay. I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. So I also give compassion to the younger me, you know, that was just starting out on their journey. I give love and compassion to that person that didn't have the tools to process, didn't have capacity, didn't have time, didn't have energy, didn't know that I was allowed to process. You know, there were times in my life when I didn't realise that I was allowed to feel upset about the things that had happened to me. I felt like I was always having to be okay. Like I was always having to be like, well, you know, worse things happen to other people and well, that's happened to those people. So I should just be grateful for my experience and I should just, you know, sort of not grumble and, you know, well, you know, that's life. Actually, no, I'm allowed to process, you know, I was allowed to sort of be upset. I was allowed to cry. I was allowed to, you know, freak out. I was allowed to freak the fuck out. And I didn't allow myself to. And so be gentle with yourself if you're getting trauma bubbles surfacing. And you feel like maybe you should know better and you shouldn't be experiencing these because you've come so far. I would see that as a good thing. That means that you actually have capacity to process these bubbles right now. That's amazing. Give yourself a pat on the back every time that you recognise and acknowledge that you've come even just a little bit further than where you were, you know? Okay, so before you would have, you know, freaked out, shouted at someone, you know, eaten a cake, drank a bottle of wine, scrolled all day on your phone, whatever. And today all you did was get a little bit upset and have a few biscuits. And, you know, it doesn't have to be, well, I shouldn't have had those biscuits. And that's just an example. That's just an example. I'm sure you can find your own example. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. We don't need to have negative Nellies picking apart my words. And yes, I am aware that I've spoken about bubbles for quite a while now, and you might not get the analogy. But if you do get the analogy, I hope this has helped. It definitely helped me when I was going through that experience, and I feel like my friend gained from that analogy. It wasn't my analogy, you know, I was just passing the info on. It helped me, so I passed it on. And, you know, she seemed to get, you know, some positivity from that. She seemed to, it seemed to help her. It seemed to resonate with her, and so I thought, and it's just continued to go through my head now for the last three days, and so I felt like it should be shared, and that's all I have to say, and I should continue with the Spanish theme after this, I think. So thank you for listening. If you have, you know, enjoyed this and it has helped, please, you know, if you have anything similar to share in the comments, you know, if you have a journey and you want to talk, my email is in my description box. If you feel that, you know, this has maybe, I don't know, brought up some stuff for you that you want to talk about, you might find somebody in the comments that you know, resonates with you. I know that I've been finding quite a lot of, you know, corresponding with people. Sometimes it's WhatsApp, you know, sometimes it's email, sometimes it's just reading a comment and it's just like, thank you. And you just have to like it, just like somebody else's comment, and it's just like, thank you. That was exactly what I needed to hear in this moment. Thank you. You know, because divine, universe, God, creator, source, whatever you want to call your version of oneness, of all consciousness, speaks to us in many ways. Speaks to us in, you know, an advert. Sometimes you get an advert and the beginning of the advert is just a phrase that's just like, thank you. Don't dismiss the things around you, like, you know, as good, bad. Everything is source, and source will speak to you. Source will keep speaking to you until you listen. Yeah, it can get annoying sometimes. Only if I'm not listening. I know this. And I hope you've had a great day, and I hope you've been gentle with yourself. I hope you're giving yourself a lot of love and compassion and forgiveness, and, you know, time and space to be your full human self. You know, we are allowed to feel our feelings. It's just energy and motion. Emotions are energy and motion. Allow them, let them be, and let them flow through. Let them flow, you know, let them pass. Just don't get consumed by them. Don't feel guilty for them. Don't feel ashamed for them. Don't push them away. Don't reject them. Don't ignore them. Just let them be. I love you. Blessings on your evening. Yeah.